Okay, so we are on Snow Treasure, chapter 22. Uncle Victor wasn't going to get shot if Peter could help it. He resolved then and there to do all he could to hurry the rest of the gold to the snake so the Clang could lift anchor and get away. There's nothing to do but what we've been doing, Victor Lundstrom decided. We'll have to chance that this spy, whatever he is still mystified and wants to learn more about us before he tells on us. He probably doesn't know that the bricks are gold bars, because not one of them has been touched. Every sled load has been accounted for, so the best we can do is to get the rest of it here and let me get away while there's still a chance. They agreed they had no choice in the matter. Yes, we've started it, Mrs. Lundstrom said. The only thing we can do now is finish it. The visitors dared stay no longer aboard the Clang because of the little children. This is goodbye, Victor. Mrs. Lundstrom kissed her brother-in-law. God bless and keep you always. You've undertaken a mighty task. Only a man as brave as you would attempt it. Uncle Victor disclaimed the heroism. Not at all, he said. I'm the lucky one. I'm going to get out of this while the rest of you have to stay and face it. Rolls and I have it easy. It's Lars and the ones who have gone to fight who are the brave ones. Again, Peter had to precede his mother along the beach, past the German camp. He waited for her up on the road beyond the bend where he could not be seen from below. When at length she reached him, he tied his sled to the end of the bobsled, and together they pulled up the steep hillside. At the home farm, there was a flurry of excitement. That much was evident the minute they turned in from the road. Fru Holm wanted to tell them something, but she was silent until the small children had eaten their bread and milk and were tucked in bed. There's something strange going on. She waved a wooden cooking spoon, but first she went to the door and looked out. Then she bolted it and came over to where they sat beside the fire. Today, just before you came, I saw a German soldier in my woods. He was wearing skis. But why would he be skiing at my place? I asked myself. He comes cautiously as if he's looking for something. I watch and he comes close to my barn. Then he slides himself along with the poles and pulls himself up the runway into my barn. Into my barn, I tell you. Peter and his mother had no word to say about this new menace. Was the German spying around the Holmes farm because he knew the boys were put to sleep there? Peter wondered. Fru Holm went on. I think I will call out to him, "Get out of my barn, you loafer." But then I think, no, that's bad. It might make him angry and he would turn me over to the officers. So I say to myself, I'll say nothing until I've talked to Fru Lundstrom. Then what happened, Mrs. Lundstrom asked. I just waited, and by he came out and started back the way he came. Perhaps he's on a mission to get food for the soldiers, Mrs. Lundstrom suggested. Then why doesn't he come right here and ask me or Papa? She answered with spirit. He needn't go around looking in people's barns. None of them knew what to make of Fru Holm's visitor. Peter tried to find out what the soldier on skis looked like. He was anxious to know if he was the same soldier he had seen himself the day before. But he remembered he had seen nothing of that one but his back, so he could hardly compare the two. Whatever the ski soldier was doing in Holmes's barn, it could only mean danger for Uncle Victor. Peter determined they would make even greater haste getting the rest of the gold to the snake. He and Michael and the bigger ones would have to take heavier loads, 5 bricks instead of 4. Then if the women were going to pull the long sleds, they could take some too. Things were happening too fast. Well, he could always warn Uncle Victor. There was some comfort in knowing where to find the Clang. The next day, and for some days after that, Mrs. Berg and a number of the other women joined the children in their trips. They would take the bobsled, and on each was a small pile of gold, and over the gold sat the smallest children. The next week, the pile of bricks in the cave was nearly down to the ground. There were less than 100 to be sledded to the snake. The children danced around in great glee. The snow's holding, and we've done it! We've done it! We've done it! Helga was the noisiest. Shh, Garson warned. You've not done it yet. There's still nearly 50 sled loads. Can't say you've done it till this cave is bare as a miser's cupboard. Nothing further was seen of the German soldier on skis. Peter was always on the watch, but not once did he see the gray-green uniform. Late one afternoon, he was unloading his sled in the snake. He untied his rope. He untied his rope and removed the sack covering and placed the bricks in the hole he had made in the snow. He took 2 handfuls of snow and began to make his soldier. He patted it hard. As he reached for more, something made him look up. It was just the merest noise, soft like breathing. He looked into a pair of blue eyes. Their owner was wearing the dull-colored uniform of a German infantry soldier. There's a picture. Let's see what's coming next. 23. So it was all over. They'd been discovered. The Nazi knew what they were doing and had come to stop them. Peter knelt in the snow, trembling. The blue eyes under the fringe of fair hair were familiar. Even in his fright, Peter knew he had seen this private before. He He'd seen him the very first day they passed the Nazi sentries. He'd seen him helping unload the supplies. He was the one who had seemed to want to go sled riding too. More. He was a soldier who came to the conditorry for the smorgasbord. And Peter had another surprise. The brush behind the soldier parted and Uncle Victor sprang out. He grabbed the soldier's arm and pinned them behind him, and before he could make an outcry, he had a gag over his mouth. Behind Uncle Victor came Rolls, the mate. His revolver was pointed at the captive. When the latter made no effort to free himself, it was lowered. Then the men turned back into the brush towards the Clang Pearson. So now we look back at that picture. We can see what's actually happening, right? They've captured the German guard. It all happened so fast that none but Peter saw. Not even Helga, a few feet away, knew what took place. She was hard at work on her snowman. Helga, take my team back with yours, Peter asked. I want to see Uncle Victor. Helga wanted to see Uncle Victor too, and to go aboard the Clang now that Peter knew where to find it. But Peter was president of the defense club. All of them had to obey him. When he refused to let her come with him, she had to do as he asked. Peter had no idea whether or not his uncle would allow him aboard the boat, but he was going to find out. What was happening on the smack was something no boy of 12 was going to miss if he could help it. So he hurried through the brush to the side of the water. From below the deck came strange sounds. Not to lose any of the excitement, Peter almost fell down the companionway in his haste. Uncle Victor and Rolls had untied the prisoner's arms and had taken the gag from his mouth. Then the captive soldier drew off his round army cap and threw it on the floor and tramped on it. He beat it with his feet up and down. Then he tore at the insignia on his collar and tried to rip it off. All the while he was making hideous faces. What is it, man? Speak. Your mouth is no longer tied, Uncle Victor commanded sharply. Then came a torrent of words, Norwegian and some other tongue Peter did not recognize. I'm no German, even if I wear the uniform. I'm a Pole. They took me and made me serve them, and the deceit is theirs, not mine. What are you doing with a German army of occupation? Uncle Victor asked. I tell you, it's not my fault. It's theirs. I'm no more to blame than that boy here. He pointed at Peter, and now Uncle Victor and Rolls saw him too. But Uncle Victor made no move toward Peter. He gave him a glance that seemed to say, it's all right. At your age, I wouldn't have missed it either. I want to go to the United States, the Pole went on. If you'll take me on this boat, I'll cook and I'll scrub the decks. I'll sew the sails and carpenter. I'll stand watch. I'll do anything you ask. Only don't leave me here with these merciless machines, these Germans. What's he talking like that for? Uncle Victor turned to Rolls. What makes him think I'd take a man in a German uniform anywhere? How do I know he's a Pole and hates the Germans? Does he think I'm a baby to take him on his own word? Then he turned on the Pole and spoke severely. Come now, tell us what you know. How long have you been following these children? If I follow the children, it's only because I'm lonely. It's because I want to be with someone I can like and trust. I will not make friends with the Germans. They don't even speak to me unless I can do them a service. Tears came into his blue eyes. Come now, that's absurd. You've been following these children because you are spying on them. You want to find out what brings them here on their sleds. Then you go tell the commandment and win a promotion. I know your sly German tricks. No. I have no sly German tricks. I'm a Pole. I have no love for the Germans. To me, they have done every wrong short of putting me to death. If I follow the children, it's not to do them harm. He spoke convincingly. Peter believed he told the truth. Even Uncle Victor seemed inclined to believe him, for the next question was put in milder tones. But if you wanted to be the children, why didn't you make yourself known when you were here last week? I was on the other side of the fjord, he said. I could not cross over. But what were you doing in the Holmes barn? Peter asked, for it was you, of course. If one is lonesome, even cows can be companion, he said. Uncle Victor turned away. Peter spoke again. He was sorry for the captive, and he believed his story, but with so much at stake, they couldn't afford to take chances. But it was you who were in the conditorry the day you posted the notices about going back to school. Why is it you can have so much liberty and the others have to go back to the barracks? They don't have to go, he said. It's by choice. When they found the Norwegians were ignoring them, they decided they would stay together entirely. And then when the epidemic came, they were frightened. Weren't you frightened too? Not I, because death, it is nothing. I live only that someday I can help my country. Poland is my country. Uncle Victor cleared his throat. If he was going to say something, the Polish boy didn't give him a chance. But won't you take me with you to America? For surely that is where you are going. He looked about the cabin. From the other side of the fjord, I saw the boat in its clever disguise, and I knew you'd be sailing soon for that country. I'll be no trouble if you take me, and when I get there, I have a place to go. I have a married sister in Pittsburgh. That's utter nonsense, Uncle Victor protested, and his voice was again loud and angry. Even if I didn't think this some sly Nazi trick, how could I land you there? They won't let you in without a passport. That is the end of chapter 23. So that was 22 and 23.